right, take a look in here on the tree arch. You can see the tree arch there. Isn't that cool? And then right up there is an X.
Uncle Chris, take a look at this.
One moment. See the X? Right in the vicinity of that tree arch. That's really something. Donnie wants me over here. A lot of these trees we kind of picked up. Come on, Don.
Like now there's a spider right here. There's like little edge marks on the, towards the tree. Like almost a complete cut, but then a little bit broke, right?
Oh, yeah.
But what caught my interest is the spider climbing it.
Sure, they'll take over.
I know, it's really cool.
Yeah, they are. And I cut a nice path on here to the lake with those telephone poles. Ow! So, well, interesting here. That tree just got kind of pushed over, looks like, and another tree laying on top of it. A couple of them. And then up here is a jungled mess where they're kind of connecting at the top. Right in the vicinity of this arch. Alrighty, here we go. Well, hello everybody. You know, I wanted to have a little bit of a discussion with you today. Most stories that I've heard on other great channels have the common and most unfortunate aspect about them. They're not believed. The police, news media, etc., that's one thing. But when it comes to your closest loved ones, the folks who are supposed to have your back, it can be devastating. Especially when it comes to children. That kind of negligent betrayal is infuriating. Adults have experienced PTSD from Bigfoot encounters. How much more for a child? If your son or daughter or any other child tells you that they saw or heard something in the wooded lot or outside their bedroom window, never ever brush it off or ignore it. Let them know that you will listen to them. You got their back. You're their family. You're their friend. You know, it may not be a Bigfoot, of course, but then again, it might be. Or God forbid, something worse. A human. Perhaps a bad human. They are out there. We all know that. Let's listen to each other, folks. And also educate each other, our families, about the reality of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, so we can all be more prepared, just in case. Happy outdooring, and let's have another story come our way. Get ready for some more stories, okay? Here we go. Okay, this next encounter that I wish to tell you about comes from my grandfather on my dad's side. Now, up until the time that I was 20 years old, I did have the pleasure of having all four grandparents. This is actually kind of unusual. I was considered very, very blessed, and I got to know all four of them. Now, my grandfather on my father's side told me of this story on several occasions, as grandfathers usually do. He grew up in West Virginia, born and raised. During the Great Depression, he worked for the Civilian Conservation Corps, building national parks and roads and dams and bridges and that type of thing. After that, he did various odd jobs and also worked in the coal mines of West Virginia. That's before leaving them, because he lived in one of the coal mining towns. And I guess he owed everything to the company store, as the old legend goes, and it was actually true. But during the 1930s at some point, my grandfather and grandmother rented a cabin just to get away up in the mountains, somewhere near Cheat Mountain, West Virginia. And they went up there just to have a short, relaxing vacation. Now, to preface this, Grandma and Grandpa both like to tell the stories. One would always chime in and finish each other's sentences. I'm sure many of you may have noticed this about folks who've been together for a long time. And they would always tell this story, usually the same way every time that I heard it. And I heard it several times, of course, as I previously mentioned, about a man in the area that got into a car wreck. He hit his head on the windshield, had some type of a head injury, and he ran away from the scene. People couldn't find him. He was known to be in the area. And because they figured he had a head injury because, well, they could hear him howling at night and yelling out loud. And every once in a while, people would see him running through their backyard, and he would steal chickens and such. And they felt sorry for the guy. And Grandma and Grandpa would say, this has got to be the fellow that did this. And of course, we would say, well, did what? And they would proceed to tell me that while they were in the cabin that they rented for their little retreat up on near Cheat Mountain, during the night, they heard pounding on the side of the cabin and a jiggling of the door, and somebody was trying to get in. Rattling the door handle, pounding on the door, hitting the side of the cabin. And it went on for a while, and they were rather shaken by it. And according to Grandpa, it had a light snow, probably an inch or maybe a little bit less than an inch overnight, and there was a light dusting outside in the morning. And Grandpa told me, he goes, you know, I went outside and there was a light snow falling, and that man had the biggest feet I ever saw in my life. And Grandpa held his hands apart, and they looked to be about, maybe 17, 18 inches long. And he said he wasn't wearing no shoes either. And him and Grandma would just shake their head and say, it had to have been that man that was running around out there, but I don't know how his feet got so big, maybe from running around all those years without shoes on. And because they heard the howling also, in addition to the other activity going on. And they would always shake their head in bewilderment. And the odd thing is, this was during the 70s and 80s that they would tell this story to us on different occasions. They had seen the old shows of like In Search Of and other shows, and they did not believe in Bigfoot. They thought it was a bunch of BS, and they put no stock in it whatsoever. But that's the story Grandpa told me. And myself and my brother, and some of my friends who would be entertained by the stories, we would just kind of smile and shake our heads because we knew it was probably a Bigfoot, and they didn't even know it. It's just one of those stories that me and my cousins reminisce about from time to time. And I thought maybe you guys would like to hear that. Here is something that I would like to read for you for your consideration. And just consider this. It's out of the Bible. It's in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, beginning at verse 1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. something for us all to consider. That's not the only place in the Bible where it speaks of giants with special abilities. Alright, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for watching. If you have a real encounter you would like to share, publicly or private, be sure to let me know whether or not you'd like to have your encounter read, and if you'd like your name mentioned or not. Down below there are references to the email address. It's bfrealencounters@gmail.com. I also have a Facebook page, Bigfoot Real Encounters, that you can also go to. You'll not be ridiculed. We need to raise awareness about these beings so that people know what's possible when they picnic, hike, camp, hunt, or fish, or even drive down the road. I hope to hear from you soon. Please remember to hit that like button, share it to all of your friends and family, and subscribe. I hope to see you next time. Have a great day.